Or a bunch of 20-year-olds who look 14? Or a bunch of 30-year-olds who still look 14? And they still live at home in mom's basement, and someday they want to meet the right girl, which would be just any girl. So this steampunk dating thing seemed like a sure thing, and now I come to a steampunk con, look out and go, oh my God, these people aren't dating anymore, they're burying their spouses. And that's not an age thing, because some of the guys are still alive and feebly fighting back, but...
You're not supposed to talk about my sex life.
I got nothing.
I have 3 answers for that, and none of them are PG. Was anybody at the Scallywags taping thing last week? Pervert. I saw you there. Oh, wait. Because you're for it, right? Hi, we're going to introduce you to some basic ideas for dating, and basically what I need you men to understand is that the female species is very complicated.
Why?
They're deep, they're emotional, they have layers,
like
an onion. Well, I would say parfait, but women make me cry, and parfait very seldom does that. Onions, on the other hand, make me cry, and I'm allergic to them, which makes plain me sneezing all night. But I want to share some basic ideas with you gentlemen. And what you need to understand is that for the average Victorian lady, they follow 4 basic rules in their dating life. Rule number 1 that every man needs to be aware of is that the Victorian lady has the right to change her mind whenever she wants, wherever she wants, as often as she wants, and you don't get to say anything about it. And while the guys are going, that's not fair. Life is not fair. The only people who think relationships are fair are not in one. I have been mostly happily married for 10 years because some kind old lady took me off to the side and said, look, you may know everything, but she's always right. As soon as you learn that, you'll do fine. Shut, don't help. Rule number 2 for Victorian ladies. No, gentlemen, you need to learn this one. No means no.
Unless it doesn't.
She's always right.
Unless she is, no. So, not only are Victorian women allowed to change their mind whenever they want, however they want, as often as they want, you need to remember that no means no. Unless it doesn't. Which is why we keep hitting on you and you keep hitting us. Because we're not really sure that no means no unless we reach out with our hand and draw back a stump. Usually if they're going to chop off an appendage, preferably your hand, you can be sure that they really did mean no that time. Don't laugh, it's a little old for you, but there's a Lorena Bobbitt joke in there somewhere. Really? You guys didn't get that the first time? I put that in because it was kind of an age category joke. Normally we do anime cons and I'll make a joke that was from a movie that was like 5 years ago, not realizing popular culture today, if it's 6 months old, no one's quoting it anymore. The nice thing about being a child of the 80s is my movies and styles have come back in style. So people think I'm edgy and fresh, and really I'm telling the same jokes for 30 years. Now, hey, The Breakfast Club's a great movie! Like, I know, I never quit watching it. I don't remember where I was. Rule number 3. You notice how impatient they are? All my life I was taught to believe that women love foreplay. And all I hear from my wife is, would you get on with it? Followed by, are you done yet? That's not right. So, what age group is this? Nobody's checking IDs at the door, right? No. Great. Rule number 1, women can change their mind at any point, at anytime, as often as they want, do whatever they want. You're not allowed to complain about it. Rule number 2, no means no, unless it doesn't. You guys are picking that up, good. Rule number 3, just because I did it once, doesn't mean I'll do it again. And if men would just figure this out, marriage proposals would drop considerably. I didn't really do. So I'm going to go stand next to those two.
We thought ahead.
I may just sit over there with him. It's safer. The odds of a woman coming over there is pretty slim. Oh! That actually came out worse than I meant. So, rule number 3. I don't remember rule 4.
We're on 4 now. We already said 3.
I was going to repeat it.
Okay.
So people would remember it. And then I forgot.
Just because I did it once doesn't mean I'm going to do it again.
It's the second time in 12 hours she said that to me. I set you up for that. Rule number 4 for steampunk dating. Just because I did it with him doesn't mean I'll do it with you. And unfortunately for guys, we tend to look at everything on a scale. And if you did something with one person and you like me better, well, obviously you have to do it with me more often. Or with more of you. I mean, and women don't think that way because it's on a case-by-case basis. And so not only is it may only happen once, just because they did it with somebody else, doesn't mean it's going to happen for you. So stop comparing notes on the girls at the convention. Because if you don't stop, they're going to start comparing notes on you. And sometimes they post those results online.
Right.
And if you're back to the whole 80s thing, there was a group. Does anybody remember the band Poison?
Yeah.
Oh yeah! You guys will actually admit to it. That's awesome. I used to get teased by guys I worked with that were like 10 years younger, and they would make fun of me by walking around singing lyrics to Poison songs that were never released as singles. How the hell do you know? I mean, how do you know the words to that song? It was never a single. You listen to it too. Poison actually started keeping a list of groupies from different cities and listing things they were good at and things they weren't very good at, and then they kept their phone numbers and everything, so when they came back through, they started sharing that list with other bands, which was not a good idea because you know what the women did? This is right about the time the internet started up. They put together a .com and listed the bands and their attributes, what they were good at, what they weren't good at, and where they were lacking. And Guns N' Roses may be shooting small caliber weapons. I really have nowhere to run. I keep going over into brighter lights. And I look better the darker it is. What?
Follow the light.
The last time she told me to follow the light, it was a train. 4 rules to steampunk dating. Women can change their mind whenever they want, however they want. No means no, unless it doesn't. Just because I did it once doesn't mean I'll do it again. And just because I did it with him doesn't mean I'll do it with you. Now, gentlemen, for those of you that can't figure this out, and you keep pushing, and you keep being forward when they don't want you to be forward. Ladies, this is the part where you get to learn what to do about that. Because when no means no, and it really does mean no, and the guy won't take no for an answer, it's your job to do something about that. And I'm a big advocate for handguns, but sometimes shooting somebody who's hitting on you is not really the right response. Unless you're in Texas. They just consider that natural selection. We were just in Texas 2 weeks ago. I never knew so many anime kids could know so much about semi-automatic weapons. It's like, no, that's totally the wrong, that's not how you field strip a Beretta. The 96 series does that. I'm like, what the? It was a 13-year-old girl. Oh. What?
Just look 13%.
I was afraid to ask after that. What we have in Victorian England, there was a martial art put together called Baritsu. It's actually called Bartitsu, but there was a flyer for a major event in 1901 that was circulated through London, and they left the first T off, and it just said Baritsu. And a very prominent writer at the time saw the flyer, and he liked the idea of it so much that he put it in one of his novels. The writer was Arthur Conan Doyle, and the novel he put it in was Sherlock Holmes. It was actually the return of Sherlock Holmes. If anybody's a big Sherlock Holmes fan, remember when he died at the falls with Moriarty?
Yeah.
The return of Sherlock Holmes, when he's explaining to Watson what happened, what he said was, I have some knowledge of a Japanese grappling art of Baritsu. There is no Japanese martial art of Baritsu. I've been teaching Japanese arts for 22 years now, and I spent several years looking for it. Going, it's got to be there! And finally I discovered that, well, I'm an idiot. I'm a slow learner. You guys figured that out about 15 minutes ago. But what we learned was, this was an eclectic martial art put together by an English engineer named Edward William Barton Wright. Apparently he was very small, so he made up for his lack of stature with lots of names. I'm 6'7", you can just call me Dan. I'm not compensating. Shut up! That is the wrong time to... I hate you. Stop. Great, giggling in stereo. Barton Wright put together, being an engineer from England, he had a huge background in boxing, European fisticuffs. He was stationed in Japan for several years, and while he was there, he trained in a Japanese grappling system, one of the Aiki Jiu-Jitsu systems. When he came back to England, he took French cane fighting, cane and knife combat, because gentlemen still carried a cane. We call them walking sticks. I call them clubs. Because they come in all different shapes and sizes, and current cane techniques or with the little hooked cane and the entire thing, if you watch the French combat, they weigh 15/16 of a pound. They weigh less than a pound. And clubbing a big dog with one of those isn't going to work very well. So the canes we use for combat at our school tend to be, well, trees. Because I'm thinking somebody big and mean's coming to get me and I need to hit them. It needs to work. But what he did is he took cane for long-range combat, boxing for medium-range combat, and for close-quarters combat, he took what he learned of this Japanese grappling art, combined with some Swiss grappling. It's called Svingen. And as silly as that sounds, what they did is they wore a really broad leather belt, and they would try to flip each other by grabbing onto the belt, and it looked like two grown men hugging and trying to throw each other down on the floor. What happened after that, no one wanted to see. But that was that art. So if you watch a lot of the old Baritsu stuff, when you're seeing these really weird things, and it looks like two sumo wrestlers, only they're English, it's from Sweden. Meatballs and men wrestling with each other. If it weren't for the Swedish bikini team, we'd have no reason to go. So they put this art together. And the men decided that this would be a good thing to take some of these aspects and teach them to the ladies, because even though they were delicate and pretty flowers, and they weren't supposed to really get their hands dirty, if gentlemen were going to be gentlemen, the ladies had leave to not be ladies. And by that I mean protect themselves. So, for anybody who's seen, I hate to go almost contemporary culture, Miss Congeniality. Sandra Bullock, remember when she was going to do her talent? She was going to play the water glasses and the girls drank the water. So she drugged this big, charming, stupid guy up on stage and beat the crap out of him. She was teaching ladies self-defense. It was called sing. It doesn't mean that if someone's attacking you, you should just start singing. You may not have a great voice, but that probably won't chase them away. Sing is an anagram, and it stands for different vital areas on a man's body to attack. I mean, to use to discourage them from unwanted advances. My wife's been training and teaching martial arts for 20 years. We're going to try to show our over-enthusiastic, not overly bright helper.
Oh.
Allie, Scarlet, no biting.
This time.
She missed the glove last night. For those of you that saw me getting led in, she missed the glove in the hallway, grabbed my arm and bit down right there.
Ow.
And just when I thought the mark was going away, I'm like, look, it's gone. She went, rah. So now I'm learning to keep my hands to myself. Mostly. Sing. Starts with an S. This is the solar plexus. Ladies, the reason why you need to learn how to hit accurately is if you're going to haul off, if somebody's trying to be mean to you, come up here where they can see me in pain. And for those of you wondering, yes, she is off her meds. I'm not off of mine yet. In fact, not only am I taking all of my meds, I'm taking hers too. And I'm not sure birth control and Red Bull was supposed to mix.
Not again.
Hey, it gives you wings.
And moving on, S, the solar plexus. The reason why you need to know is if you just swing, if somebody's being nasty to you, if they're in any sort of shape at all, and you punch them in the stomach, that's not necessarily going to do anything. I just have to make sure the stomach's tensed a little bit, and I'm not talking when she hits me, because I make really funny noises then. But you can take a decent shot to the stomach. That same punch delivered about 4 inches higher, just below the bottom of the rib cage, right here, is much nastier. It has much bigger effects. So when the punch, wait a minute, what am I doing?
I wanted to hit you like last year.
None of you guys were here last year, were you?
No.
Oh, good. You were. If you remember, our show was a lot different, but she was supposed to do that punch, and then she was going to come up and just swing away because she was a lot lighter and not trained, so I was just going to let her hit me, and it was going to be funny that she's going, you brute, and not hurting me. Jill was supposed to pull her punch.
I did!
And she hit me in the solar plexus and knocked the wind out of me.
Oh.
On stage, and I'm supposed to still be talking. And not bailing out when the little tiny girl comes up to hit me. And I was still going. And Allie came up because Scarlett is going, it's my turn to hit him! And comes up, and I bailed. No! So she's chasing me around the stage going, what the heck, go with it. And Jill's going, you big baby, I've hit you harder than that before. Which really endeared her to the crowd. What we're looking for, placement is important. Men, location, location, location. Do you know why the blonde had bruised on her belly button? Oh, boyfriend was blonde too. So, solar plexus. Short, powerful, but drive just right there. Okay, that's enough. Allie.
Yes.
Scarlett. This is, okay, we're going to let you do the same thing. It goes, wait a minute. Can you hold that? Good, right there.
What's this whole stunt double thing?
Okay. Okay, now. So, this is the shot. Pay no attention to this.
Kick him!
Are you single? Because suddenly Scarlett's interested. Wow, he'll let me amuse him. Okay, go ahead. We're moving on. That was good. It's like she's been practicing. Let's leave off the solar plexus. What was the next one?
Instep!
That doesn't sound so bad. Okay. So when you have those men that are just being forward, and by forward I mean coming in like this, if punching them short in the stomach, or just above, doesn't work, and they actually get here where they're too close for you to be able to punch them very effectively, you can still reach their feet. The instep. So for those of you, this is like the women's way to get even with men who step on girls' feet during slow dancing. Which I do frequently. Not slow dancing, I just step on her feet a lot. But the goal here is not to simply put your foot on top of their foot and push down. You have to be able to generate a little bit of force here, because a lot of men are scared and wear boots.
Which are still no match for our heels.
So the instep, it's kind of a close range, but you want to be able to pick the foot up slightly and drive it down. Down on top of their foot. Okay, show them again.
Foot comes up, aiming with the heel down, right at the top of the arch. Here.
Did you notice she missed the floor that time? That's supposed to be her job. You're always so jealous when we play.
What?
No. All right, come here. Instep. Show her how this is done. Okay.
So, leg comes up, right down with the heel.
All right. Now, we should stand right there. See that X? X marks the spot.
Of doom.
Right there. Okay, close range, up, and so she kicks me in the shin. It's so hard to find good help. Nicely, up. Yeah, that was enough. All right, where are we going now?
We're moving on to
Good,
the next
please,
step of
quickly.
sin, which is your nose. Yes!
Oh, God. Don't be so... Can you see my nose out there? Do you notice it doesn't track straight? My nose is crooked. That's not just bad genetics.
He's a slow learner.
I have had my nose broken 3 times in my life. The first time I had my nose broke, I was diving off of a dresser onto a coffee table. Oh! Don't do that. That Superman cape did not work as advertised at all, but I was just a little kid, so cut me some slack.
Sweetheart, 17's not really a little kid.
Really, you're going to go there? Like me wearing a costume at age 17 was weird for this group? I'm not sure. There's one kid here in normal clothes, and no one will sit by him. Who's that weird guy? So, first time I broke my nose, it was landing on a coffee table. The second time I broke my nose, it was in a Muay Thai kickboxing class. I teach Muay Thai, it's kickboxing from Thailand. Knees and elbows are legal. A friend of mine that does American-style kickboxing said after watching a match that it's basically comprised of every foul from every other martial art in the world. Is legal in what we do. So I'm working with a new guy, and there's a reason why, if you have a military background, new guy is called FNG. Freaking new guys. Because they're the dumb ones. You put them up front, so when they blow up, you go, ooh, we're going around that. I'm working with the new guy, I have focus mitts, and I'm trying to explain elbows. Right elbow, over and down, left elbow, straight across. Bridge of the nose, knock the hands out of the way, that sort of thing. So you understand, right? And I've got the pads down, I'm talking to him, he goes, you mean like this? And goes, crunch! And broke my nose. Like, yeah, just like that. And if you're still in this room when my eyes quit watering, you're dead. The third time I broke my nose, she did it. We weren't fighting. We weren't doing that either. It was right afterwards. I mean, we were actually, we were in bed, and you know how it is when you're with your lady and she's up, well, you don't, but, sorry. So everybody's looking around, going, really, you volunteer very much? I notice he's up there and you're...
I can't sit down.
Don't go to Taco Bell and which, no. Come here. We were in bed snuggling like this, and she thought she had her head tucked against my neck, and you know how when you're snuggled up, you just kind of nuzzle in? She did that to me, except her forehead was on my cheek. And when she went, oh, she was pressed up against the side of my nose, and it went, crunch.
Oh.
You know how in real life the sound effects from the movies are never the way they make them sound in the movies? Sometimes they are. 3 o'clock in the morning and I sit bolt upright in the bed after she goes, crunch! And I sit up and go, ah! And our 2 children in the bedroom next to us are going, la 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 la! To this day, they don't believe that we weren't doing it. But that was us. Next day, black belt test for one of my students for sword. 4.5 years of training, and there's the instructors at the table. Me with a bandage across my nose, 2 black eyes, and my wife with a smile on her face. So when we sent the paperwork into my instructor, who's Japanese and has no sense of humor, he called us and said, why is Sensei Dan's nose with a bandage? And why is Mrs. Sensei smiling? So Jill told him about breaking my nose, and when he sent the paperwork back, he sent back a menjo. That's a Japanese word for it. It's a certificate of your rank. He sent the menjo and the paperwork for the dojo, and in between was a big piece of red construction paper. What is that for? So we called him and said, Sensei, why is there red construction paper in the package? He went, I call penalty card on Mrs. Sensei. He said, if she beats on you again, you tell me, I make her stop. It's a conspiracy. So hitting the nose on purpose is actually a little bit different.
All right, Miss Scarlett, we're going to do something a little bit different this time. Instead of using the knuckles, you're going to use the palm of your hand. If you have nice fingernails or you're wearing rings, sometimes you don't want to punch someone. So, palm heel strike. This one, forwards and upwards, utilizing force up and in. Here.
Notice I'm not holding that in front of my face.
This also works great for the gentleman who's trying to crowd your space and get in way too close, but you have your hands here to stop them. This is a quick, short trip upwards into the back. Aww. All right, give it a try.
All right, so you understand, right? Right there. Right. Yeah, okay. That's not your...
It works!
No! You're not ready for dating. You're too violent. You're going to hit him in the face with a forearm? Not even that guy will sign on for that. Actually, he might, but if you do, talk to me first, because I get a brokerage. What's the term for that? Oh!
All right, I think we're ready to move on to the last phase of sing.
Okay, I'm up for that. What is it?
Solar plexus, instep, nose, and groin.
Oh.
I'm not up for it anymore. Do we have to do this one?
Yes. You see, this also works great for the gentleman that's crowding your space. Because you're taking your knee and driving it upwards. Not just up, though. Up and through. The goal here is your knee comes out the back.
Oh.
Are you ready?
No! Oh, you're not volunteering to take my place, though. You're coming up to hit me in the groin with a knee. Thanks, Mom. Anybody else want to abuse me? No! I love your enthusiasm, but that really makes me nervous. All right, show me this.
All right.
One.
There's the slightly further away for the gentleman that's being overtly aggressive, where from further away you take that knee and drive it forwards and through.
And for you guys going, I just wear a cup. Yeah, after she drives the knee in, you can open your mouth and pull the cup back out. I've taken this shot with the cup on, and you know what? No. And ma'am, no offense, but I have a grandmother that trains at our school doing the joint locks and throws. She made 2 of our police officers that train quit training because she was convinced, because she was older and smaller, she wasn't as